G'day, it's Pete here, and today I wanted to show you some of the cool journeys that came from the Spingold. We've already looked at the winners and the excitement that came out of that match, but there was tons of excitement through all the other matches that came, and one that I really wanted to highlight was a bit of an Australian success. So here, I've got Liam Milne joining me. He made it all the way through to the semi-finals, so welcome, Liam.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Pete.
So what we're going to do today is look at sort of four boards, one from the round of 32 all the way through to the semi-finals, just picking out your favorite hands. And how about we jump in and take a look at this one?
Yeah, sure. So this hands from the round of 32. So I'm playing on the Bramley team, Bramley, Kit Wolsey, Hammond, and Peter Whiteshell. I was playing with Andy Hung, who many of you will be familiar with. We were playing against, in the round of 32, a team of two Scottish guys and two Norwegian guys. They didn't have a sponsor. We knew they were there to try and do well. And yeah, we had this hand come up against them in, I think it was the third quarter. Now, what happened was part of pass, and East opened a heart. I made a fairly normal one spade over call. You could make a take-out double, but I like betting my spades when I've got five of them. West put two diamonds, and my partner raised me to two spades. And sort of unexpectedly, this ended the auction. So let's see what West led. For the Queen of Hearts, unsurprisingly, went for their partner's suit, and dummy was unexpectedly very weak. So we've actually only got 15 points between us. Yeah, so the opponents got 25 points and have let us play in two spades. This was sort of a theme of the match. Like, we found that Andy and I were betting a lot more aggressively than our opponents. We were all vulnerable in this hand, yeah, we were in this hand with only 15 points, but I've got to do my best. Unfortunately, it looks like the opponents might have done the right thing. They probably can't make 3-0 trump. We've got such good diamonds and such good hearts. They can't game at either of those suits. So they might have done the right thing. So my goal was to try and make this one as possible. So on the first trick, when Queen of Hearts, low, and I trumped. And my goal here was to start setting up a club rush in the dummy. I'd like to leave the clubs towards my hand, but I can't afford to cross over to the dummy to do so. I can't play spades to the ace and my club up because the opponents will just keep playing spades and I'll never get my club rush. So I decided the trick to play a low club towards the 10, and lost to the jack. I noted the 7 on my left. I play reverse signals, but it was a noteworthy spot card. It was definitely far from the lowest. East came out a pretty quick Queen of Spades next, and I decided to trump that to win that in the dummy, the Ace of Spades, and come back with 3 clubs. Keep setting up my club right. So East played low, Queen, the 9, and it's lost to the King. So West now came out a very quick Jack of Spades. And this was quite interesting because when East followed, I won the King. I was almost certain that West had the 10 of Spades left. Because when East switched to the Queen of Spades, they would not switch from Queen 10 low spades. That seemed very unlikely. They would switch to the Queen. What West should have done from their remaining 2 cards, Jack 10 of Spades, is they should have come out the 10. And then when I won the King, I would not have done it at the last trump. But they played the instinctive Jack Spades top of the sequence. So I won my King. And now I just played my little club and trumped in the dummy, hoping that the ace would fall. But didn't. So I've seen West play 7, King, 8. I'm pretty sure that East has the ace of clubs left because West probably would have led the ace of clubs from ace king. And also the East needs the ace of clubs probably to their opening bid.
So at this moment, my thoughts are, so West has the 10 of spades. You're pretty sure hearts were like 6, 5, 0, 2. So West has 3 spades, 2 hearts. And if they had 4 diamonds and 4 clubs, they would have bid 2 clubs at this point. So, so it looks like they're 3, 2, 5, 3.
Exactly, yeah. If they had 4, 4 in the minors, they might have done. So it's pretty likely that we've got 5 too. Also, it would give East 3 diamonds, and they might have supported diamonds. So this is all adding up. the shape of West 3, 2, 5, 3. And if we go through the points, from the beginning, because there were 25 points out, I expected West to have 11 and East to have 14. Because if West had 12, they would find it hard to pass out 2 spades, and if East had 15, they might have opened 1 no trump. 2 spades, they might have doubled with something else. So I thought 11 and 15. West has got the Jack of spades, the King of clubs, possibly the Queen Jack of hearts, possibly just the Queen. That's 6 or 7. And if we give them 8, 9, 10, 11 and diamonds, with the King Jack of diamonds, that just adds up with Jack of spades, Queen Jack of hearts, King Jack of diamonds, King of clubs, and give East the rest. And we've got East with a 2, 5, 2, 4, 14 count, which sort of makes sense. They probably should double with that hand over 2 spades, but they might pass. So, Pete, knowing what full hand is, you can see what I'm about to do, which is I have to trump a heart from the dummy at this point. And the reason I have to do that is to get rid of West's last heart, preparing for the end play against West. And West now has all diamonds and 1 winning spade. So you want to show everyone the full hand now, Pete? We actually know this is almost certainly allowed. And the only winning play here is to exit with our spade. 2 quite unnatural plays there, trumping in the long trump hand and then exiting with a losing trump.
Yeah, who needs trumps anyway?
yeah, we're down to playing no trumps, and West only has diamonds.
Yeah.
So West has to play a diamond to me, and I can win it and play the Queen of diamonds now, in case East has the double King Jack. West wins it, and then they get in played again in diamond. So they have to give me 3 out of the 4 diamond tricks.
Beautiful double end play.
Yeah. I remember I told this hand to my teammate Bart Bradley after the match, and he said, "All right, this is all looking good. So how many tricks was this to make?" And I said, 8. And he just got this huge grin, you know. It was really good stuff to be able to make 8 tricks with this 15 points combined. That was one of my funnest cat play hands of the match.
Yeah, no, that's cool. So just going back to the start. So here's the whole hand. And I think it all just adds up for all the inferences there sort of all come together. I reckon the 10 of spades false card or continuation of spades would murky the waters and be a nice play there. But it's so easy not to think from your opponent's perspective of what's actually going on there.
Yeah, West has an unusual spade situation that that they know that the declarer won't be expecting them to have the Jack spades necessarily, so they should be awake to the idea of coming back to the 10 instead of the Jack. But anyway, who knows? I might have got my hand right anyway. It wasn't too testing in the end. It was just some good solid inferences followed by a bit of card reading, and then using all that together and find that in play.
Yeah, no, I love it. And how rare is it? You're like, okay, I'm wide open in hearts and in clubs. Let's shorten my trumps, get rid of trumps, and just send them in to play diamonds for you. It's beautiful.
Exactly. Yeah. The reason I liked the hand so much was that the plays at the end were quite unusual that had to be found in order to make the contract. So it's always nice when you can find an unusual play when you read the hand properly.
Yeah, nice. So that was in the round of 32. And you must have been pretty happy getting through that, but there was much more to come. And it was like, how was your excitement going through that? And
so even from the beginning, you can always lose even in the early rounds. There's always some upsets, and we were the 16th seed. Andy and I didn't have many seeding points because we haven't played in America very much. But teammates obviously did have a lot. Hammond's the most successful British player of all time, so he had quite a few seeding points. And our other teammates had no chance either. But so we were the 16th seed, which means we're expected to get through the round of 32. But now that we're on the round of 16, we're the lowest seeded team. Okay, so this match had a lot of importance everyone. In the previous round, the 32nd seeded team, which was the Australasian team of Nabil Edgerton, Michael Wibley, Taj Hans, and Peter Gill, they had upset the number 1 seed Nickel. They had beat them, and it wasn't even particularly close. They'd done really well to win that match, and what that meant was that they were now the number 1 seed. They take over the seeding, and that means that number 16 plays number 1 in the round of 16. So we were playing for all the bragging rights, and we were also playing, for whoever won this match would be the number one seed going into the next round.
And also the most successful Australian players.
Exactly, yeah. There was a lot to play for. If you lose, you're out in the round of 16. If you win, you're the number one seed going into the round of 8. You're the most successful Australian team. And yeah, everything to play for. And a lot of, personal history between us. We're good friends with these guys. And we've played on many, many teams with them over the years. In fact, Qatar and Peter are, some of our frequent teammates. Whibley was my partner for 6 years.
Andy Hung and
yeah. So, quite funny that I was sitting on the same side of the screen as Whibley, and Andy was sitting on the same side of the screen as Nabil, where we all used to play together as partnerships. So this was a hand from the first set. It was a hand I didn't do so well on, but the result was quite satisfying. Not at the time, but so I had a very interesting decision just to begin the hand. I didn't even know what to open this hand. At any other vulnerability, it would be a clear 1 diamond opening, but at this vulnerability, you can get away with a 3 diamond opening just to show that you're really strong in diamonds, that you don't have much else. And that's a pretty good description of the hand. I reflexively opened 1 diamond. Looking at it now, I think maybe 3 diamonds is better. It's very descriptive. It sometimes gives the opponents a problem. The diamonds are so good that it might get us to a light Reno trumps. There's all sorts of things that could happen here with a 3 diamond opening, but I opened 1 diamond, which was going to give me some more problems later on.
One question I got: how much import did you put on like having 3 spades? Like if you swapped your spades and clubs or something, do you reckon that changes your decision? Or
yeah, if I had a singleton spade and 3 little clubs, I would probably be even more likely to open 3 diamonds because it's less likely to be our hand. It's more likely to be the opponent's hand and score game in spades. When I've got some length and strength in the majors, like I do here, it's more appealing to open 1 diamond. The problem is we're going to see that when you support the majors, your hand ends up being not very good as a dummy and ends up being a really good hand to play in diamonds. So, the 3 diamond opening is certainly reasonable. So, here's what happened in the auction. I opened 1 diamond, 1 hard overcall from Michael Whibley on my left, right on the screen. Andy bid 1 spade, which is typically 5. We have a 2 heart bid available, which shows 6 spades. It's a little competitive gadget we play, so this is typically exactly 5 spades. Now Nabil bid 2 no trumps, which was alerted, even though it's not alerted on the screen. It shows a 4 card raise, at least invitational. So I knew Nabil had a decent hand, and the opponents had at least 9 hearts. Now, I had a tough bidding decision over 2 no trumps, and I'm not particularly proud of what I did, which was supporting my partner. I really like to support my partner whenever possible. But in this scenario, I'm not particularly proud of it because partner can't distinguish between 4 card spade and 3 card spade support. And I could have a 4 card spade support hand and quite a good hand. Instead, I've only got 3 little spades. I've got the rubbish queen of hearts. I've got quite a bad hand for playing in spades as the dummy, apart from my singleton club, which might be useful. But I decided to go with support the partner. I could have passed. I could have bid 3 diamonds. I could have tried a double, trying to sound like I had 3 spades, even though we haven't discussed that. But 3 spades is what I went for. And looking back on this, I'm not particularly proud of the 1 diamond opening or the 3 spade bid. What happened next was that Whibley bid 4 hearts, Andy bid 4 spades, Nabil doubled extremely quickly. I felt that from the table action. And I passed because it's normal to pass. Looking back on it now, it's pretty obvious that Nabil has 4 spades. If he does, and he's going to tap trick 1, and the hand's just going to fall apart rapidly. Nabil's going to have trump control, and the whole hand's going to go terribly. And it was actually, I had an instinct that it was right to bid 5 diamonds over the double. I did. Anyway, perhaps we want to show the full hand now, and we can see exactly the carnage that unfolded. So Nabil led a heart, and as expected, Andy had to rough a trick 1. And already he's looking in terrible shape. He's just got no tricks anywhere, and he's got no trump control. The opponent's going to be able to draw trumps and take all their hearts at some point. I think he cashed the ace of clubs next to extract that club from the dummy. He trumped the club in the dummy. And he played the queen of hearts, trumped the card in his hand. He next played a club and tried to get another club rough, over rough. And when Whibley played back a diamond, this point in the field showed his cards. He basically said, I'm just going to give you this trick, the diamond. I'm going to give you one more spade trick, and that's it. Because as soon as he gets in, he can draw the ace king of spades and then play winners. So at this point, I'm going to win the jack of diamonds, and Andy's going to make a spade, and that's it. So we've made 4 tricks at this point. We're getting 2 more. That's 6 tricks only. So that's down 1100, which was not an ideal score. I felt terrible about the whole thing. Andy pivoted the hand aggressively, but normally he had avoided half. So he competed to 4 spades. I basically felt misled him about the structure of my hand. I could have bid my diamonds many different ways. Instead, I bid them once at the one level and then supported my partner, which is normally not such a bad crime, but worked out really, really badly at this point.
So, and what was your You mentioned you felt terrible. What do you do for the next board after you go for 1100? What do you do to get back, keep playing, making sure that you're doing well?
Yeah, I mean, when you're a professional bridge player, you have to be able to put those thoughts aside. I felt terrible, but at the same time, I have routines, and I think many people do, about how to reset and try to focus on the next board. For me, it involves really trying to focus on counting the next hand, because that can be quite a good distraction from the thoughts about the previous hand. I'm also a very strong believer in, your teammates will often have you covered, especially if you're playing on a top team like we were. And they did have us covered on this hand and some. So here's what happened at the other table. Like me, Peter Gill opened 1 diamond. His 1 diamond was precision, so perhaps a good idea to open 1 diamond. It's limited in strength. On the other hand, 1 diamond doesn't actually show diamonds; it could be short. So maybe there's something to be said for opening 3 diamonds in his system as well. Bart Bramley opted for a 3 heart overcall instead of a 1 heart overcall. He's quite strong, but his hand is almost entirely in hearts. I wanted to show the 7 hearts a favourable vulnerability. Also give the opponents a problem. Taj Hans made a very aggressive 3 spade bid. Interesting. I'm not entirely sure whether it's a good idea or not, but it is a bidder's game, and when everyone's bidding, it's often a good idea to bid aggressively yourself. He's got no hearts. He's got 5 spades. His partner could have 4 spades, so hard to fault him. Double would be another alternative, but it misleads about the number of spades, and if partner passes your double, might not be such a good score. So the better or for worse, Taj Hans did 3 spades. And now Kit Woolsey made a bid which I'm still somewhat amazed by about this bid and how he came up with it, and the effect it had. So what Kit did was he jumped 5 hearts, and this was not a strong bid. This was a preemptive bid. He possibly thought that the opponents might be able to make 5 hearts, although it's not that likely when he has such a strong hand. But consider what 5 hearts looks like. The 5 heart bids that I've seen in this scenario, when facing a preemptive bid and at favourable vulnerability, they've always tended to be extremely weak and had a lot of hearts. Basically, the people who bid 5 hearts are often looking at their hand and thinking whatever the opponents bid, they'll be able to make. Try and take as much room as possible. That's somewhat good strategy if the opponents double you, but often it can be like a red flag to a bull, because the opponents look at your unnecessary jump to 5 hearts and they think, well, you obviously think we can make something, let's bid something, and it backfires. You end up pushing them into a slam that they weren't going to bid, or other such things, or you end up getting doubled in 5 hearts when you were possibly going to do okay in 4 hearts. What Kit did was he bid 5 hearts on a very strong hand, and this totally misled Peter Gill about his hand. So Peter was looking at the 5 heart bid and presumably thinking, well, it looks like they have 100 hearts. Doesn't have any. There's an unlimited number of spades, 5 or more, but could have 6 or 7 spades, unlike in our option where the 1 spade bid was likely only 5. And the opponents seem to think that we have a slam on. I think that's what Peter was thinking. So he got jockeyed into a 5 spade bid. And of course, Kit was happy to double this, but suddenly instead of playing 4 spades double, they're playing a 5 spades double. So you never know what's happening at the other table. In the play of the hand, Taj also made 1 less trick than Andy. He won the he
didn't trump this.
He didn't trump the first trick. He was trying to maintain trump control somehow. And then I believe he never got his club ruck in the dummy. So he trumped the next part, and now he played a diamond. King of Diamonds got roughed, played a forcing game. And at this point, you can just, lead out all these spades, and he's not going to make many more tricks. In fact, the only two tricks he can make now are the ace of clubs and the jack of spades.
It's kind of funny here that he gets one fewer trick, even though East West crashed their spade honors. Right? Like the illusion of, the ace and queen of spades went together. Yes, but I don't get my roughs.
Exactly. Yeah. I think Kit was aware of the situation. That part could have the queen of spades, but playing ace king and another spade definitely got rid of the dummy, which were going to be extra tricks, and that's the extra trick that Andy got at the other table. He got the ace of clubs and a club ruck. So yeah, Satara only made 5 tricks here, despite the opponents crashing their spades, and he was a trick higher. So instead of going for 1100, Peter and Sataj went for 1700, and we won 12 imps, which is one of the greatest covers of all time. Coming out, reading out minus 1100, sorry, and their teammates say win 12. It's a very good feeling, and I thought this is a good sign that we're going to win this match. The fact that I had this terribly feeling board in the first set, that is was our biggest winning set. And we ended up winning every set. I think we just had small wins in each of the sets, and we ended up winning reasonably comfortably in the end, and beating the Hans team and going on to the quarterfinal. So yeah, that was a really good match for us to win. We were thrilled with the result. It's nice to get the Australian supremacy.
Nice. All right, so moving into the quarterfinals now. So what were your thoughts on this one? And so the tough teams keep coming. So
so the Spectre team. Warren Spectre is a sponsor from the US, and his team is a very, very good team. He plays with Gavin Walpett, who's famous as the founder of Bridge Winners, among many other things. Their teammates were Vince DeMoy and John Cranier, who we were playing against in this set, and John Bird and Kevin Bathurst. And they're all extremely good players. Several of them were on the team that came second in the Bermuda Bowl in 2011. And that's the year that I moved to Australia, and I was sort of starting to get into the professional bridge world and starting to win tournaments. And I remember following those guys for every step of the way and thinking, these guys are the best guys. To be sitting here playing a big old quarterfinal against them was quite surreal in some ways. Nevertheless, we were having a pretty good time with it. In fact, in the second set, when we played Spectre, the sponsor, and Gavin Walpett, they played extremely well against us. We found many great bids. Gavin was card perfect, doubled us twice for penalties, and we were quite gratified to see them sitting out in the second half because they've been the ones beating us up. In the first set, we had a solid set against and Bathurst. And then we set up the third set. We had a decent lead going to the last set. Now, going into the last set, when you've got a lead and you're playing against a good team, you know that they're going to throw everything against you. There's going to be no holds barred. I like to think of it as, it's like a boxing match. If the gloves come off and throwing big punches, and you really have to be, calm, and you have to be willing to roll with it, and knowing that they're going to land some things, but they're also hopefully land a few back. So this was board 26, which was the 5th board from the end. This was in the last set of the match. And we had a decent lead at this point. We of course, did not know what the score was, but we had some good hands at our table. And on this hand, East Craniac opened a weak 2 in diamonds. My partner doubled for takeout, and Vince DeMoy bid 2 spades. So I'm looking at my hand with 4 good spades. My partner's made a takeout double of diamonds, showing spades as well. And I thought, well, given the state of the match, and given how aggressive these guys are, 2 spades could easily be a sight. He might be bidding spades without spades, but he's actually got a diamond bid, and he's trying to bamboozle us out of our spade bid. So I doubled, which we play as spades, and basically revealing that we think that they're mucking around. This went pass back to West, to Mui, who had 4 diamonds, which in my mind revealed that he had strong diamond support. He was preempting, and he didn't have spades after all. Now, I made a pretty poor bid at this point. I bid 4 spades, and the reason I bid 4 spades was basically that I thought that they'd psyched. I thought that spades was out there. I just wanted to get us to our most likely game. What I should have done instead was to double the takeout. Clearly, the opponents have a large diamond fit. Partner's not going to be passing the second double just because we've doubled 3 times. And therefore, if I double, it'll suggest that I've only got 4 spades. I've already doubled, showing I've got 4 spades. So if I bid 4 spades now, I should have 5 spades. And if they have 3, they're going to pass, we might not be. If I double and partner bids 4 hearts, which is quite likely, and then I go back to 4 spades, it will sound like I have 4 spades and 1 good clubs, or at least 4 clubs, but likely 5. And that would be a pretty good description of my hand. So on hand, the partner bids 4 hearts and then doesn't like spades, so that'll be the right contract. So instead, I bid 4 spades, and I went pass, and now Demoy doubled. And that was a little bit unexpected for me, because now it sounded like maybe he hadn't psyched. Maybe I'd done something quite terrible here. I was looking at my 4 spades, and I thought, I could have 4, and I don't know. Or he could have 3, and it could be quite bad here. And this hand was actually influenced by a few hands that had happened earlier in the tournament. I already showed one where the previous hand where I'd been doubled in 4 spades and it was right to run to 5 diamonds. There'd been one earlier in this match where I've been doubled in 4 spades, even though we had 4 fit, there was a 4-1 break offside and it was right to run to 4 no trumps. And there had been another one earlier in the event where it was right to run game to a different suit. So I thought, well, I'm not going to sit here for the 4th time. That's really tough. I think he's got spades now, and I'm going to run to my 5 clubs, my 6 card suit. Unsurprisingly, it went pass double, and I wasn't sure how well I'd done. Do you want to see what the opening lead was? Okay, so they've left the Queen of Diamonds, and in their leads, this showed King Queen. They lead the second highest from their sequence. So I knew that East had King Queen, Jack, some number of diamonds, and West probably had the ace. So when Queen of Diamonds, low ace, unsurprisingly, the Ace of Spades switch. And now the Queen of Spades. I'm going to get rough, but so the spades are 4-2 most likely. And I've got all of the tricks except for one. I've got 1 spade trick, which I've just won. 6 club tricks gets me to 7, and 3 heart tricks gets me to 10. And I have to find somewhere to cut my second spade. I can throw 1 on the 3rd heart honor, but the second one, it's not clear where to put it. So at this point, Pete, what would you think the East's take was from the play so far? And actually, maybe you should play the next 2 tricks to find out the East has got a single in club.
So
West has a double.
looks like they're 2, 4, 6, 1. Oh wait, no, yeah, 2, 4, 6, 1 maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the East has got a double in spades most likely. West has probably got 4. East has got probably 6 diamonds, so they open 2 diamonds. 1 club, we know that. And so 4. And that suggests that we might be able to finesse a 10 hearts. Right. East has 4 hearts and West has 3. So I'm slightly favoured finessing the 10 hearts. But there's a bit of a problem with that. You don't know what the other table is doing. If you finesse the 10 hearts and you're wrong, you're going to go 2 down instead of 1 down. And so actually, instead of making West has 3 to the Jack, you'll go 2 down instead of making. And 4 to 3 odds are not particularly appealing. It's not go 1 down, we'll go make it. It's go 1 down, we'll go 2 down, potentially. And go 2 down, you know, is a terrible score, whereas going 1 down might be okay on some situations, or at least might restrict the damage if your teammates have had an okay board. But I found something a little bit better. I saw that 9 of diamonds this game. I thought, well, that sort of looks like East has King, Queen, Jack, 10, 9. Why haven't they thrown their smallest diamond? They play upside down signals. It's normal to throw your lowest card, encouraging. Why is he throwing the 9 of diamonds? I thought it was safe to play a few more rounds of clubs and see what eventuated. club, and East threw the 10 of diamonds. Played another club, and East threw the jack of diamonds. And this is starting to look quite interesting because West is throwing a whole bunch of diamonds as well. So I thought at this point it was possible that East had a 2-5-5-1 instead, with King, Queen, Jack, 10, 9 of diamonds, and 5 more hearts, or 5 to the jack. I thought he would open the 10 2 diamonds in the situation. They knew they were down in the match. They're super aggressive, not looking at the vulnerability or caring too much. They're a card short. And as I said, I didn't want to finesse the 10 of hearts so much and risk going 2 down. I played some more clubs. And as it happened, East can't throw any more diamonds. They've led the Queen, they've thrown the 9, 10, and Jack, and their last diamond is actually the King of Diamonds. So East has to throw hearts. Now I can throw away the 8 of diamonds. And East has thrown 2 hearts, so it's very likely the hearts are now running. So if you want to show the full hand now, Pete, you'll see what happened. East was 5 red suits, and he threw 3 diamonds but could not throw the 4. And what happened was that the 8 of diamonds was good enough to squeeze him in hearts and diamonds. So it didn't matter who had the jack of hearts at the end. East had to throw 2 hearts because they had to hold on to the diamond. And once they hold on to the diamond, I could throw away dummies 8 of diamonds. It was no longer useful, and the hearts had to be good. So I didn't embarrass myself by finessing into the doubles and jack of hearts, going 2 down. Squeeze East, as it happened, the jack of hearts was dropping, but if East had 5 hearts to the jack, we would have made it anyway. But yeah, this was basically 100% way to make the contract when East had all of the 5 top diamonds and West had wasted the ace of diamonds to trip 1.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a really nice hand. I got the hand wrong when I did 4 spades, but I recovered with 5 club bid. Woodham was able to play it well to basically seal the match. We knew that when we'd made 5 clubs doubles that we were basically locked in to win this match. The last few boards, some more excitement happened, but we ended up winning the match by about 50 imps in the end against a really strong team, seeded much higher than us.
Yeah.
Full-time professionals. So yeah, we're really happy with that result.
That was a good win. And importantly, in case there was like a misdeal and Demoy actually had like 15 cards, you were squeezing him in spades and hearts as well as bonus. So
exactly, yeah, it was actually a double squeeze. East had to guard diamonds, West had to guard spades, and no one could guard hearts.
Yeah. So cool position to bring home a doubled contract. So
yeah, it's funny. Actually, no one was squeezed at all. The hearts were good the whole time. No matter who had the jack of hearts or how the hearts were dividing, as long as the 8 of diamonds was a menace against East, and the spades were a menace against West. My hearts and the dummy could have been ace, queen, 3-2. I still would have made this contract.
Yeah.
The fact that the 10 of hearts ended up winning because the jack dropped was sort of irrelevant because of the squeeze.
Nice. And then into the semi-final. So here you were playing against the eventual winners. So your hot streak came to an end, but it was an exciting match nonetheless. So do you want to run us through this board?
Yeah, so when we got to the semi-finals, we're playing the Zimmerman team, also known as the Switzerland team. And so Zimmerman, big-time sponsor, the biggest sponsor in the world, and a fine player in his own right. He was the guy behind the Monaco project, which ended up winning some world championships. That fell apart, and he moved back to his home country of Switzerland and formed a new team. And here he's playing with Fernando Piedra from originally, I believe, from South America, but now and has been living in Switzerland for many, many years. And his teammates, Brinken Driver, originally from the Netherlands, and Gabris and Kwiatkowski from Poland, also now playing on the Switzerland team. So they all set out a few years so they become eligible to play for Switzerland. Came back and played the Bermuda Bowl this year and won the World Championship. So we knew we were going to have a tough time. But the way things were going, we thought we could probably beat anyone. Right? There's 4 teams left. One of them's going to win it, and that could be us. So we're excited, of course. First match had gone, first set had gone on okay. We were tied. And then this hand came up. So I had the West card, a nice 10 count, nice shapely 10 count. And South, Piedra opened 1 spade. So this sort of was a bit of a turn off. I passed, obviously. It wasn't going to come into the auction. North did 1 no trump, and now my partner overcalled 2 diamonds. And this suddenly made me quite keen on bidding because when Andy bids 2 diamonds here, vulnerable against not, quite an exposed position, he's going to have 6 diamonds almost every day of the week, often have 7. He's going to have a pretty good hand, he's going to have some shape, and now my hand's extremely good. When South bid 2 hearts, now I'm thinking Ace of Hearts is on side as well. My hand's just enormous. It's just a really, really, really strong hand. I thought we might make 6 diamonds at this point. I was thinking about what my options were over 2 hearts. I considered bidding 4 clubs as a splinter. I wasn't 100% sure that Andy would take it that way. So I thought about over 2 hearts bidding 4 clubs and whether Andy would take that as a splinter or not. And yeah, there were numerous reasons I decided not to do this. First one was I had a void rather than a singleton. I wasn't sure that Andy would be able to pick this as, such an awesome hand from the void being significantly higher playing strength. And I was also a little bit worried because the opponent's favourable vulnerability, and they've tried spades and hearts, and I know that their big fit is actually in clubs. And if I bid 4 clubs, and North can double this to show that they've got the club suit, which is very likely what they do have, the opponents might find a sacrifice. 5 clubs, 6 clubs, 7 clubs, and probably they can make quite a few tricks in clubs. We've got an enormous fit there, we've got an enormous fit of diamonds. I really didn't want to tell them what the hand looked like. In this situation at the other table, Michael Kukowski from Poland, I believe he bid 2 spades, right, a Q raise. And then he bid 4 clubs, and they got to 5 diamonds. And he took a much more descriptive way of bidding the hand, tried to get his partner to bid a slam, but at the end of the day, he really could not describe what a powerful hand he had. And that's sort of what I was worried about when I was considering all these artificial slow maneuvers. So what I did instead, over the 2 partners, was I jumped all the way to 5 diamonds. Now, this is a bit of an underbid. I thought we'd almost certainly be cold for 5 diamonds, but we might miss out on 6. But I also thought that this had several tactical advantages. It sounded like we might be preempting. It sounded like we might not have as much as we did. I thought that my hand would be quite a surprise to the opponents. I also thought it was good to make sure that they never got clubs in. If I jump to 5 diamonds, no one's going to bid 6 clubs. If I bid something lower, as you saw what happened at the other table over the 2 spade bid, North got to bid 3 clubs, and the opponents got to find their club bid. So I decided to make the practical or maybe aggressive bid of 5 diamonds just to, give us a chance of getting to our right contract and to also maybe conceal what I've got. And what I was hoping for was that someone would double. And Zimmerman did double. I'm not quite sure why he doubled. It might have been on the sale of the auction that we were preempting or sacrificing or something. He had nothing resembling a double. He made a very poor double. But that's what I was hoping for when I bid 5 diamonds. I was hoping he would double, so that I could double. Because I knew that if I bid 5 diamonds and we played there, we might be missing 6. But if I played 5 diamonds redouble, even if we just made 5 or made 6, that would be worth more than a slam. I knew that 5 diamonds redouble making 6 worth more than 6 diamonds anyway. So I was quite happy to redouble. But of course, it's a little bit nervous when you put down the dummy and you're just sort of forced to the 5 level and redouble vulnerable. But that Andy would have exactly what he promised for his 2 diamond bid. And he was maybe even a little bit light. He had 6-4 shape, he had 6 good diamonds. While Andy was thinking about how to play this hand, I was thinking, well, hopefully he makes it. He fairly rapidly made 12 tricks. I had a hand many years ago where, after making a redouble contract, I asked my partner what the score was. That was actually Bart Bramley, who was one of our teammates. I was playing with him a few years ago. He said, when you're dummy in a redouble contract, you've got one duty: work out what the score is if you make it. so I worked out that 600 for 5 diamonds and 750 for 5 diamonds doubled, but it was actually 1,000 for 5 diamonds redoubled, with the vulnerable redoubled over trick was 1,400. So I knew that we were getting 1,400 if we make 5 diamonds with over trick. And that's what the score was. So 5 diamonds redoubled with an over trick compared to 5 diamonds not doubled at all with an over trick was really, really nice score to bring back to our team. That was one of the hands that gave me hope that we could actually win this match. We ended up having a few good boards in the second set as well. We went to half time tied. You can see we've got a deficit at this point, but we ended up tying, bring it back to a tie at half time. But at that point, Zimmerman, the sponsor, set out. The two best pairs in the world for 30 boards. And while we held our own up until the end, we faltered in the last set, and they ended up beating us. And going on to play in the final and win the final. So we came third equal. But yeah, we were very pleased with the result overall. As I said, we were the 16th seeded team, so coming third was a pretty good achievement. And yeah, of course, the Australian bragging rights, can't forget them.
Yeah, what a fantastic result, and awesome hands as well. So thanks for joining me, Liam, and hope you all enjoyed this recap of some really interesting hands from the Spingold.
Yeah, thanks for having me.